morning.
Good morning.
My name is Ben Robbins, and I am glad to be your minister. I got an email, I think sparked by today's theme of, if you look at the picture on the order of service, the masks we wear, and when can we take off our masks? And I'm not talking about COVID masks. So I got an email from Dan McKay, who some of you know, asking me to share that 52 years ago, this congregation became the first institution in Halifax that was not specifically queer to host and welcome queer support groups. So that's just one way we can reveal more of who we are, take the mask off that we sometimes feel like we have to wear. Please see the announcements in our order of service and note that our first open mic night is coming up on Wednesday. The first session of End of Life Issues is today at 12:15, and there's a hike today at 2:15. And Pam Berman will now give us a pledge drive update.
So last week we were.
Oh, it is on. Oh, perfect.
Sorry. Last week we were at a bunch of number sixes. This week we have moved on to lucky sevens. So we have $78,125, which is 71% of our pledge so far. And I'll be back next week with the fourth week, and then you won't see me until we finally get everything. So that's good.
Thank you, Pam, and thank you, everyone. Yes.
Yes.
And thank you to our volunteers and staff who make our Sunday services possible. Margaret Galbraith is our service assistant. We have Carol Westall on keys, Riley Friesen on tech, Andrea Dewar in the office, as well as those who got the coffee going and those who noticed who could use hello. And if you are new and we haven't met yet or haven't talked, I'd love to say hi after service. And now we have Brian Gifford with our land and climate acknowledgements.
Hello. We are gathered today in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people, and we respect and honor our shared treaty relationship. We also acknowledge that Nova Scotia is home to over 50 African Nova Scotian communities whose culture, heritage, and histories have been and remain a key part of this province for more than 400 years. I'd like to take a moment to recognize Judge and Senator Murray Sinclair and the immense impact he had on Canada and on relations between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people, Canadians. He died November 4th. He had many leadership roles throughout his life, including becoming the first Aboriginal judge in Manitoba and the second in all of Canada. His biggest impact came from leading the Transformative Truth and Reconciliation Commission from 2009 to 2015, which arose from the largest class action lawsuit in Canadian history, and held a mirror up for Canadians to see the enormous damage our colonial approach had on Indigenous people, cultures, and communities. The report contained 94 calls to action and called upon all parts of Canadian society to commit to reconciliation and to build a more respectful relationship between Aboriginal and non-Aboriginal people. Judge Sinclair wrote, "Reconciliation is not an Indigenous problem, it is a Canadian one. It is one in which all Canadians are implicated." In presenting the final report, he addressed all of Canada when he stated, "We have described for you a mountain. We have shown you the way to the top. We call upon you to do the climbing." In the last year, he published a book called 4 Questions for a Life. Where do I come from? Where am I going? Why am I here? Who am I? These are some of the simple yet profound questions that we UUs engage in, going to the heart of what it means to be alive. In interviews on CBC, Mr. Sinclair always came across as being plain-spoken, clear-eyed, wise, and compassionate. In closing, I'd like to acknowledge that the Mi'kmaq understanding of the importance of all our relations, that is, our relationship with all elements of this beautiful, extraordinary world we live in, fits with our 7th UU principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. In keeping with this principle, we commit to do all that we can to stop climate change. As a community that is committed to social justice, we will listen to and learn from Indigenous people, including our Mi'kmaq neighbours, and Black Nova Scotians, and search for ways to build understanding and relationships and to address injustices in Nova Scotia and beyond.
Our chalice lighting reading this morning is in our gray book, When Despair for the World Grows in Me, which seemed very appropriate for these days. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into the peace of wild things who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still water. And I feel above me the day-blind stars waiting with their light. For a time I rest in the grace of the world and am free. Our opening hymn this morning is number 347, Gather the Spirit. Please rise in body or spirit for our hymn. It's in the gray hymnal, and the words will be on the screen. They are on the screen.
One
I'm 14 years old. I'm in French class. My group has just done a presentation, and looking back, I have no idea what it was about or even who was in my group. I was probably just going through the motions. So socially, I had a wall up, and I would not have proposed a cool idea or brought out my personality into this presentation. So my group sits back down, and the next group lines up on the chalkboard and starts singing their presentation in French. They've turned their presentation into a song. So it's fun, the energy in the room lights up, and then the final line of the song is a run-on sentence, because they couldn't squeeze what they had to say into the right number of syllables, so they made a joke of it and just did a very long run-on sentence, but in the end of the sentence with a triumphant rhyme. I thought it was hilarious. I was even a little bit in awe. So later that week, I passed one of the singers in the hallway, and I remember the hilarious run-on sentence, and I decide to be bold. So we're well past each other, but I turn around and I say, "That last line of your song was hilarious." "Oh, stop," she says, or something like that. She blows off the compliment and keeps walking. So I would say that that was the low point of my week. And I was boldly friendly and got blown off. And that Sunday morning in youth group, we start by each sharing a high and low of the week, like we always do. And I think of that run-on sentence as my high of the week, and getting blown off was my low of the week. But it's too vulnerable. I can't say what's really in my heart. So I just say, the Blue Jays won on Tuesday, and they lost on Thursday.
In this community, we make space for the opportunity to share what is in our hearts. The joys, sorrows, and complex truths of being human and being 14. Whatever happened in your life this week, we hope that you're not going through it alone. You are welcome to place a stone in the water and share, or you may place a stone in the water in silence. We have two at once.
Hi, I'm Amy Moonshadow. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm just happy that we live in a democracy. I've been working for a candidate this week, and people are wanting to get out and vote, and so if you qualify, please, Tuesday, if you haven't been to an advance or early poll, get out there and vote. A really big stone in, because it's important.
Good morning. Just an update on. Just an update on Barbara Halshani. She yesterday had her 91st birthday, but for over a week she's been in lockdown, stuck in her room, not allowed to leave the room, and it's making her. I don't know. What's the word? Squirrely, yeah. Anyway, she asked me to say hello, and thank you, Faith, for the cake you delivered, and for several phone calls that she got from people here, and said thank you very much. I told her about, what do you call it? Time to talk. And she said, oh, I would like to be there. And so she hopes that this lockdown will be over in time for the next session, not this one. Anyway, hi from Barbara. Oh, yeah, the stone.
So we're in the zone here? Yes, it did. Well, I've been phoning back and forth with Mary Spur from this congregation on the crucial issue of the annual campaign, right? And she was going to get back to me, but I got the text yesterday that reads, I wanted to get back to you about the annual campaign. Life has been a little complicated the past 10 days. On November 10th, 3 p.m., still light out, I got knocked over by a car. Fortunately, because he had been stopped waiting to turn left at the green light, I was going straight. His unexpected turn was at a low speed and caught my back wheel, knocking me over. It happened right in front of a police van waiting at the red light. I was lucky in several ways. I'm okay, just a bit bruised and a bit of bike damage, but it added a number of tasks to my week's list. Can we wait to chat? So, which of course, yes. But so so Mary Spur is doing well, but a pretty unfortunate thing is that it would kind of shake you up just to be wandering along on your bike and get hit by a car. So a thought for her, and also thankfulness that it was just a slow speed thing and she had just a few bruises and that's all.
This is a joy to come. Many of you will know Hinda, who arrived in June of 2021. She's getting her Canadian citizenship on Thursday.
Are there any joys or sorrows that haven't been spoken? And one final stone for those joys, sorrows, complex truths that remain in the depths of our hearts.
For our meditation today, we have a musical meditation video. It's by a high school choir. And the second verse is very gentle humming. So maybe that will help you to drop it.
Come and find the quiet center in the crowded life we lead. Find the room for all to enter. Find the frame where we are free. Clear the chaos and the clutter.
The work of this community is made possible by donations of time and talent and money. Thank you for however you give, and we trust that you will give however much is right for you. Most donate by monthly e-transfer, and we also pass our basket, or wooden bowl. Today, the unidentified money left in the bowl goes to our Saturday brunch, which is not funded through the UUCH operating fund. If you want your donation to the brunch to be identified, please use one of our envelopes, which, are the envelopes in the bowls?
Nobody ever takes one anymore.
Oh, okay. All right, I would. Whatever your situation, thank you for being part of this community. And please stay seated for our offertory hymn, which is number 396. I know this rose will open. It's in the gray book, and the words will be up on the screen. And we will just keep singing it. We won't do it in parts, but we will just keep singing it until we stop.
The novel Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. Clarissa Dalloway is going about her day, shopping to prepare for a party. To outward appearances, she is pleasant, tidy, she has her life together. Just needs some snacks and maybe some decorations. That is the persona she reveals to the world. We get more. We get her inner monologue. Every stray thought as she walks down the high street, every emotional response, every opinion, every hope, every regret, we get it all. Years prior, she chose a life in which she has to behave properly. She has to keep up appearances. Her inner complexity struggles to live on. What other stories come to mind where you get to see another human's inner self that society doesn't get to see? The Stone Angel, Call Me By Your Name, Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, The Edible Woman, The Joy Luck Club, The Mountain and the Valley, A Fine Balance, Things Fall Apart, Stone Butch Blues, The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde, Kiss the Fur Queen, Last Night in Montreal. It's really an endless list. Maybe you thought of some too. Stories that see beyond a public persona to see someone's deeper or fuller self. It's not just one or two stories. It is the human condition. Just so much more to people than you'll get at a first glance. We're complex beings, we're layered with personality, we're layered with the masks that we wear. And if you're not like that, if you're completely maskless, I honor that and would love to talk to you. Who you are at work, the you your coworkers know, possibly simplified, predictable, safe, touched up version of you. The you your neighbors know, perhaps a bit more down to earth. The you your friends know, the you your best friends know, the you your family knows, the you who was there when nobody else is in the room. I have a quote from a sermon by Bruce Bodie. He says, "The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung used the Greek word persona to refer to the face we wear with others. It's the mask or veil of personality that both reveals and conceals. It both allows us to bring forth certain of our interior energies as well as to conceal interior energies. And to attempt to drop the mask, the persona, is a risky proposition. Because as Jung says, the persona is a built-in structure of the human psyche. It's an archetype. It's a structural complex. It evolved for human health, education, and welfare. Everyone puts on a face for others, especially in the beginning of a relationship, with the literal putting on of a face in the morning, or grooming. It's a necessary thing to keep society functioning. The mask that both reveals and conceals. So our persona isn't just a public face, it's also a pathway in. It's a way for us to reveal what is on the inside. A friend and I once went to a punk show in the basement of a bar. So it's punk music passionately performed, but with silly lyrics, ridiculous lyrics. And when we have had our fill, my friend and I moved to a table in a nook under a stairway. When the set ends, the band appears in the nook. It turns out that this is their dressing room because there isn't really a backstage in the basement. So we're suddenly in an intimate setting with this punk band. And this lead singer, probably the composer of these silly lyrics, is right there looking at us with his spiked and dyed hair. My friend opens the conversation by saying, "Are you for real?" And the punk singer pauses. He considers how to answer the question. Will he reveal the truth to my friend? Will he reveal the truth to himself? Is the answer complicated? Is he in the process of creating and discovering his personality? So it was an impertinent question. Are you for real? Bruce Bodie's sermon puts how I felt in that moment into words with a quote from Albert Schweitzer. "We are each a secret to each other. To know one another cannot mean to know everything about each other. It means to feel mutual affection and confidence and to believe in one another. A person must not try to force their way into the personality of another. To analyze others is rude, for there is a modesty of the soul which we must recognize just as we do that of the body. The soul too has its clothing, of which we must not deprive it. And no one has the right to say to another, because we belong to each other as we do, I have a right to know all your thoughts." Our persona is clothing for the soul. Something shifted for me while I was training to be a minister. I did my hospital placement for 3 months. So it was 3 months of sitting with people who had possibly had a life-changing twist to the story of their life, who were figuring out their new sense of self. 3 months of intimate conversation, or sometimes just holding hands. And a good chunk of that time was spent with the other student ministers and our supervisor. We would run through the conversations we had had with patients. So when I said this, the conversation went deep, but when I said that, the moment was lost. We'd go over it, everything we said. We would role play what we might have said. We'd brainstorm how to hone in on that person's spiritual moment to help them to reground their lives. So is that manipulative a little bit? Yeah, possibly. I think it depends. If it's not what they signed up for, then it's not really appropriate. But I think I would knock on the door. I would say, "Hi, I'm Ben from Spiritual Care. Would you like to talk?" I think they understood that I was there to help them to go deep. But what happened after this hospital placement is that I would be at a party with friends, and I'd be introduced to someone, and I'd say, "Hi, how are you?" And the person would just open up, tell me things. Multiple times someone said to me something like, "My God, I have never told anyone that." And it wasn't intentional. I don't know if it was just how I said, "How are you?" or it could have been a coincidence. But I've learned to create a clearer threshold into conversations like that. So if you're going to take off your public persona with me, I want it to be an intentional choice on your part. My wife, Tanya, is a therapist, and in her first day of training, the first thing they taught was a practice called peeling the onion. So you start with surface level conversation, small talk, and gradually go deeper. You gradually peel the onion. And I imagine they taught this on day one because eager psychotherapy students would introduce themselves by saying the most personal things, or make conversation at the coffee machine by asking, "So what are your unresolved psychological issues?" So when I was younger, as I said before, I wore a thick social mask, and I used to take forever to peel the onion. I've moved quite a bit because of school or adventure, and I have found it could take me a good 2 years to feel comfortable in a new environment where I could bring down that mask and risk letting my flag fly. Here's more of the quote from Albert Schweitzer. "No one should compel themselves to show to others more of their inner life than they feel it natural to show. The one essential thing is that we strive to have light in ourselves. Our strivings will then be recognized by others, and when people have light in themselves, it will shine out from them. Then we will get to know each other as we walk together in the darkness, without needing to pass our hands over each other's faces or intrude into each other's hearts." So I feel relief with that sentiment. No one's going to pressure me to reveal more of myself. Kind of like a cat in this way. Don't entice me to come out. I'll come out when I'm ready. So that quote resonates with me. But the quote also makes me wonder, is Albert Schweitzer from Nova Scotia? So the social masks are on, and you don't get to find out what people really think. Is that true here? Is that true? Does that resonate? Yeah, sometimes Nova Scotians do open right up, but you just need to give them permission first. Be reticent to start, and then you spill the tea. You say spill the tea? Spill the tea. Is that new slang? Yes. Okay. Spill the beans, spill the beans. Spill the tea. Okay.
Spill your guts.
Yeah.
She's from Newfoundland. She's from Newfoundland.
Okay. Okay. So some of us are here at UUCH because it's a place where more of our personality comes out. It's a place where you can freely let out hope, wonder, your questions as you're seeking. Those aspects of ourselves might come out more here than they do just when chatting with friends. But it doesn't mean we're transparent here. We each have our congregational persona. Perhaps your persona here is more joyful than your work persona. Perhaps your persona here is more trusting than your persona when you're with family. But it's still a persona. And again, if you don't actually have a persona in different places, I fully honor that. As a congregation grows, one of the challenges is you can't reveal as much of yourself every week in a Sunday service. 200 people can't all come up in turn and say a joy or sorrow or complex truth. So if you imagine us growing, eventually one of the challenges will be that if you want a revealing of self, it happens informally after the service or in small groups meeting weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. And that is the hardest change when growing a congregation. In a large congregation on Sunday mornings, you feel a connection through shared song, shared vision, shared moments of reflection. It's fabulous, but in a larger congregation, the dance of persona is different. Some people prefer that. They need soulful connection, but not psychological intimacy, while others join small groups for the deeper revealing of self. When a new person comes through the door, they're gauging the persona of the congregation. They might see that 8 Principles poster and think to themselves, I like the persona of this congregation. Then the next question is, are they for real? Is our persona, how we present ourselves as a congregation, revealing who we are on the inside, or is our persona more of an aspiration? And youth in particular are asking, are you for real? That's the advice I got from someone who used to help with the kids program. She said, youth need to know that you are for real. And I think an honest answer to that is that we do some things very well, and in other ways we are a work in progress. We're human beings in a complex world, always at risk of losing connection to our better selves when the tides of history are turning against us. Always at risk of thinking our own perspective is the whole truth. Always at risk of not noticing inequity when it is right in front of us or even inside us. We're at risk of letting go of nuance and latching on to simplistic answers. So I don't think that our persona should be that we've got our principles figured out and mastered. Every day we have to do this work and look at things from another angle, welcome nuance, welcome new people who will both have something to teach us and people who have possibly not yet learned things that we've learned. So are we for real? Are we for real? Mrs. Dalloway might say that we can't really know that until we've heard our inner monologue. Albert Schweitzer might say that we shouldn't prod ourselves too much for those inner monologues. Just simply shine our own light and it will help others to find theirs. Somehow we also have this shared light. So our persona is a clothing for the soul, and let's wear it well. And let's take a few minutes to reflect on what we just heard, what came up for you, and then we will pass the microphone to hear a few of our thoughts. This is the start of a conversation that can continue over coffee, so please be brief. And if you're able, please come up to the front so that those on Zoom can see you. When you are ready to share, please raise a hand. You might reflect on how you present to the world compared to how you are on the inside. What makes you more transparent? How transparent do you want to be? Are you friends with your persona, or is it an antagonistic relationship? What helps to keep it real for you?
What was his answer?
Pardon me?
The punk rocker, what was his answer?
I don't remember. I don't, yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
For those on Zoom, Pam Berman just asked, what was the punk rocker's answer? But Ben doesn't remember.
I don't remember, yeah. Sorry.
That was really unexpected for me. I didn't know quite what to expect, but as someone who really tries to bring their whole self and their whole persona to every space, I think it gave me a new perspective. And as someone who sometimes is frustrated with those who don't bring their whole self, I think that modesty of the soul is definitely something that I had not considered and will be taking forward into my day and to the rest of my life. So thank you so much for that new view for me.
This is just a bit silly, but some of us don't have good masks. People apparently read what I'm thinking on my face all the time. But they don't always get it right. And the funny thing that happened 10 days or so ago is a woman came to our door in our very secure apartment building and announced that she was the Conservative candidate in our riding. That's not the word for provincial. Anyway. And she handed me her slip, you know, her information. And then she said, I take it you're not going to vote Conservative. And I said no and handed it back to her. But what I was really thinking was, how did she get into the building? Is it okay for her to be?
Should I explain how she got into the building? During an election period, you're allowed to get into, yes, apartments and condos, as I've explained several times in the last little while.
Please rise and body your spirit for our closing hymn. It's This Little Light of Mine with adapted lyrics, which are going up on the screen. They're not. Stay after and we'll make them silly. Yeah.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of yours, I'm gonna have it shine. This little light of yours, I'm gonna have it shine. This little light of yours, I'm gonna have it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. This little light of ours, we're gonna let it shine. This little light of ours, we're gonna let it shine. This little light of ours, we're gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Amen. So as we extinguish our chalice, may we carry with us the warmth of compassion, the glow of love, the fire of commitment, and the light of truth. And end of life issue starts at 12:15 here. There's a hike that we leave from here at 2:15. Pick up choir right now, right here.
Welcome everyone who wants to sing with us. Yes.
Yeah, so pick up choir right here if you feel like singing. And there's coffee and treats just through the doors.
I think that's the cue for us to say good morning. Can't hear anybody.